now we're going to talk about some benefits. Right? I want to encourage you who, you probably don't need encouragement. Probably the opposite. You would need encouragement to not get married. If you're here, you probably definitely want to get married if you're not married. But anyway, some benefits of nikah. And of course, remember I mentioned today is going to be more catered to those who are not married. So the first benefit that we see is the protection of chastity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, Surah Al-Isra, verse 32, He mentions, وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا الزِّنَا إِنَّهُ كَانَ فَاحِشَةً وَسَاءَ سَبِيلًا. Do not go near adultery or fornication. Zina encompasses both. It is truly a shameful deed and an evil way. This is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying. Again, look at the nuance of the verse. He doesn't say, La taznu, don't do zina. He says, do not near zina. What does not going near it mean? Anything that could lead towards it is impermissible in Islam. And this is where scholars say, along with many other ahadith, you cannot even look with desire the opposite gender. It's not allowed. To look with shahwa, it's not permissible, because that's getting near zina. Speaking to the opposite gender alone with no supervision, these kind of things are impermissible in Islam, because it is a step towards it. Whether you think it or not, it is a step towards it. So this protects our chastity by getting married. We won't get closer to zina, inshallah. Another hadith, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, I'm trying to see what the, okay. I highly encourage you to lower your gaze, and you must absolutely protect your private organs, or else Allah will disfigure your faces, meaning your hearts will be devoid of goodness. And so Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is giving a warning here. He says, lower your gaze. You have to do it. I highly encourage it. And so look away. Doesn't mean necessarily look down. If someone of the opposite gender is like, saying, hey, look at me, and they're like under you, it's like, I'm looking down, it's not going to work. Then look up. Lowering the gaze is a figure of speech, which means avert the gaze from haram. It says protect the private organs. Allah will disfigure your faces, not the physical face. Sometimes the physical face remains beautiful. Spiritual face. On Yawm al-Qiyamah, you'll see whether a person has nur on their face or darkness on their face. That will be disfigured. And that's, we can see this when a person is engaged in all of this haram aspects, their mind becomes twisted as well. They start thinking of people like objects, and then various things happen. You hear it on the news, etc. Another hadith. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam saw a group of youngsters. They're probably chilling outside the masjid, like many of you will in Ramadan. They walked by them, and they said, oh, group of youngsters, those among you who have desires should get married, because it's the best solution for abstaining from impermissible glances and is the best protection for one's chastity. This was his advice. They're probably just relaxing, so he addresses them directly, straight to the point. Those of you who cannot get married and you have desires should adhere to fasting, for that will be for them a castration of desires. Castration of desires. So what is the hidayah here? Guidance from Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is, if you're capable of getting married, you have the desire to get married, do so as soon as possible. That's actually in the Sunnah. As soon as possible, you should get married. Of course, we have different dhuruf situations now. I don't want anyone's parents coming to me all angry. My son, he just got married last night because of your program. I'm sharing hadith. I didn't say anything. Okay. So he's saying here, if you have those desires, it's going to be really hard to live. Life becomes quite difficult. Solution, get married. It's going to help you lower that gaze. You know that you have something where you can fulfill your desires in the halal best manner. It'll protect that chastity. Your focus, your mind can focus on Allah. Everyone here understands the importance of this. You're trying to think about Allah, you're trying to do dhikr, and your mind just keeps going there. Just keep going there. You can't do it. Once you finally have the sukoon, again, this is sukoon of the mind. You have the marriage, you have sukoon, and then you can do dhikr, you can focus. And that's why, I'm not sure about this riwayah, I've heard it, so I need to double check, that before Jumu'ah and certain special occasions, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would be intimate with his wives before. It clears the mind up. This is something we have to talk about. People who are, having all these shahawat and desires, and certain foods increase that. Red meat increases that. Some say dates increase that. So Ramadan, it actually helps you increase those desires. You have no outlet, and you're standing in Taraweeh, and you're thinking about all this, Imam's crying, and you're thinking about someone else. So this will be a very good source of that. And the last thing he mentioned is fasting actually helps. This is not 1 or 2 days. As you'll see, in the first few days of Ramadan, the desires increase, shoot up because of the change in the system. If you do a continuous fast, he's saying every day of your life, if you can't get married, fast, nonstop. Yes, this is the advice. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he's saying, the ibadah. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, what is the limitation? Anyone know the limitation of fasting when it comes to ibadah? Worshipping Allah, pleasing Allah, what's the limitation? How much can you do? Every other day is a maximum. He says you're not allowed to do everyday fasting. Although some people did it. But they're probably doing it because of this. That is ibadah, and pleasing Allah every other day is maximum. Saum Dawood. And this is ilaj and medicine. He advises this to people who cannot control desires. You have to fast every day of your life. And what this does is it weakens the body as well. When the body is very weakened, it doesn't have time to think about desires. This is true. You guys have a good Ramadan, meaning what is it? The Fiazis, and what is the other one called? The Urdu speaking people know? The little pakoras, the pakoras. The biryanis, don't have that kind of stuff in Ramadan. Eat basic stuff. You'll notice desires go away by the end. But your body becomes very weak. So you become emaciated, and there's no room for desires at that time. But that was actually his advice. Become emaciated. Or get married. You choose. Alhamdulillah, I chose marriage. I think everybody wants to choose marriage. So that's one benefit of nikah. We're talking about 4 here. 4 benefits. Number 2, we'll talk about the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? Of course, marriage is a means to earn Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's pleasure. We talked about it being sunnah, and this is Allah gets happy too. He speaks so highly of nikah in the Quran. Of course, he's so happy with this. So let's take a look at some ahadith that show that this is not only the act itself, Allah is happy with it, but there's many opportunities once you get married for you to do more. As a man and a woman, there's a lot of opportunities once you get married. So here, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, when a man spends on his family, expecting reward from Allah, it'll be considered as an act of charity. Right? So we sometimes don't realize that we're doing charity, and you kind of lose some of the rewards. Because if you don't have an intention for an action, then it's not really an amal. Every time you buy something for family, to eat, to wear, you pay the rent, electricity, water, it's actually sadaqah. You don't really have to give elsewhere. If you're making the intention that I'm giving sadaqah, you're doing a lot of sadaqah. More than half of our paycheck is sadaqah. And in today's time, the wives are also contributing to the sadaqat. In another hadith, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam speaks to Sa'ad radiallahu anhu, and he says that small things are sadaqah. Even if you were to take a bite, a morsel, and put it in your wife's mouth, that is a sadaqah as well. You should have these in your mind when you're doing all of this. So you can do all this when you're married. If you go home and you're just alone, then where is your opportunity for sadaqah? There's no opportunity. You can feed yourself. That's unfortunately, it's not going to be sadaqah. Feeding the self is not sadaqah. You feed your wife and she feeds you. You guys got the food, and then you both got the reward of sadaqah. You put some clothes on your child, you change your child's diaper. You didn't make these intentions. I change my child's diaper all the time, but sometimes the intention is not there. It's just, man, it smells bad or something like that. But we can get a lot of reward. All of this is sadaqah. You helping someone in any way is a sadaqah. You smiling at someone is a sadaqah. Again, you can't smile at yourself or sadaqah. You can do it, but it's not going to be sadaqah when you smile at yourself. Another hadith. Again, not to say he wouldn't have said this to women. It's just that gatherings are of men. He who wishes to meet Allah pure and purified should marry the free Muslim women. If you want to meet, he says, طاهرا مطهرا, pure and purified. in a state of purity. You want to meet Allah. You want to die and meet Allah and you're pure, marry a free Muslim woman. At the time, there were slaves. And at the time, I mean, even now, you can get married to Ahlul Kitab. But if you want this reward, remember, our intention should be Allah. Allah all the time. Everything in a Muslim's life is just Allah, Allah. So even nikah, you should consider it a huge mercy from Allah that He allows us to do these things. This is ibadah. Alhamdulillah. This is ibadah. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, this is the same hadith we talked about before. 4 actions are amongst the habits of prophets: dyeing with henna, applying fragrance, brushing with the siwak, and nikah.